Okay, thank you. Okay, let's proceed to the actual transaction. So after indicators, click on transaction, and then you click on this green or here. Okay, just click on transaction and click on this green, add by party. Okay, so we have the transaction number. You just click here to generate it. Then the internal reference number is the number generated by your system for that transaction. And then we have the transmode code. Since it's a money transfer, I'll call it an online transaction. So any questions on this line? We went through this, but in case anyone has a question before I go to the next line. Okay, no question then. All right, so the transaction involved is down to you, as I can say, this is our fourth, I can say 16 million. Since the transaction, and then since it happened last week, but remember it's 48 hours, so probably I would say 5th. Let me put this as 5th. Okay, so any questions here? All right, so description is the purpose of the transaction. I know there are quite a number. Someone is asking about internal reference number. Is the receipt number, the number of the transaction on your system that uniquely identifies. Each transaction has a unique identifier in your system, so that's what you capture under internal reference number. All right, so can someone give us a description? These are the purpose of the transaction. That time someone said upkeep and business. Can someone give us another today?
We have things like bills.
Bills? What do you mean?
Yes.
Gift?
Gift, yes.
Okay.
Yes, gift, bills, things like that.
All right, so I'll say gift to brother. Okay, thank you. So now from is the person who sent the money, to is the person receiving the money. For Forex purposes, from and to are the same person. But for money transfer, there'll be different persons. Okay. Okay, someone says school fees. All right, it's a good example. All right, so from.
Shrivan, I have a question.
Okay.
We have a transaction where customer is trying to send money to other country, but here the customer is actually innocent. He got a message on his mobile that there is some parcel on his name, and as customer is clear here and he is innocent and is not a wrong customer, but he's been a victim of some fraud. So is this an STR or because if STR is normally where it is understood that customer is trying to do something wrong or money laundering or some wrong financing or such kind of thing. But in that case, customer is a victim of an online fraud saying that he has received a lottery, some courier has to be sent, something like that. I had two times this kind of transaction where I educated the customer and I didn't do the transaction itself. But he has some document where he's received in his email saying that this is parcel held in UK or somewhere, and we have to send that courier to you. You need to pay the courier charges, such kind of thing. I didn't do any STR because the transaction has never happened. I just maybe went to other bureau and sent the money. I don't know, but at our place we didn't do the transaction.
Okay, we have what we call suspicious activity. It will be the next one we look at, where there's no transaction that took place, but you have detail of the individuals, the individual who was purported to be, maybe the transaction didn't happen, maybe stopped halfway for one reason or the other. Maybe you didn't go through with it as a Forex, or the customer decided not to go through with it. So we'll look at that as suspicious activity reporting.
Then just remove the glasses.
Yes, please. Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead, Ivan. I got it.
Yeah, so I hope that was, I hope I responded to you there.
Yeah. So even the transaction doesn't happen. Sometimes when you feel it is suspicious, you can report, but customer normally doesn't give their ID details or something.
That's why
When
we have
you know,
a suspicious activity report. So we'll look at that
yeah,
under that.
we look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, after the STR. Okay, any other question? All right. So I think the sender, because from my example, the sender is not our customer. The sender is from the person who's our customer, is the person picking the money. So it will be from person. For Forex transaction, it will always be from person my client to person my client. But for money transfer, only one of these will be your client. Either the sender or the recipient. So in this case, it's from person. And this was, I think it's a cash involved. So I think, what can we call this? We'll need to have another scenario here, probably online transaction for this. So this person sent money and we called her, okay, since we know the gender, always try to provide as much information as possible. But in this case, probably we just have the details of the sister and maybe the nationality. She may be Ugandan, living that side, and residence is South Africa. Okay, and maybe we have the passport number. That's South Africa still. Okay, let's say it's Ugandan passport, but best that. So, okay, let just default it to South Africa. So basically, these are the details I have about the person sending the money, the name, the residence, we know they are based in South Africa, the nationality, and probably the passport details. I do not have their phone details, address details, and anything because they are sending from that side. Probably I do not have all these details on them. So any questions on from person? So we look at to person. Okay. So on the two sides, this is the person who's receiving the money who came to your company. So that will be your client. And you notice with your client, there's more detail that we require. Okay. So he's picking cash and mail. So because he has provided ID information, we have his date of birth. Probably he's using his national ID, so we have his national ID details. So I'm trying to see, I've put in as much information as is applicable. So the nationality is Ugandan, residence, Uganda. Yeah. So any questions on this part here? We're basically capturing the details of the person who walked in to pick money. And this is as much as we can get from his identification. So the name, the gender, the date of birth, the NIN, just come with the national ID. And I hope you're strict on these national IDs. I hope you're not using, okay, government issued ID is fine, even driving permits, but not LC letters and staff IDs. And no. It has to be government issued ID. But most importantly, national ID. I think very soon it will be strictly national ID. And one other thing you have to note is you're supposed to identify customer. Yes, please. Yes, we can hear you.
What I was trying to ask you,
Mm.
what I was trying to ask is, this is one individual that we are trying to pay, but on nationalities, I've seen nationality one, nationality two, nationality three.
Yeah, people can have more than one nationality. It's allowed. You can have dual nationality. Rare circumstances, but it can happen.
Okay.
Yeah, but for our scenario, let's strictly just have one nationality to avoid confusion. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we move now. Another thing you're supposed to note, like I said, national ID is going to become quite a key requirement for transactions. Another thing that will become a requirement for transactions is right now you're only looking at threshold transactions where you're required to report to BOU or FIA, and that is when you get someone's ID. But you need to develop the culture of having ID for each and every transaction, because that will soon become mandatory. In the event that an inspection is done and you have, say, in a week 50 or 100 transactions, and a spot check is done, and you have 5 customers who transacted $100 or even $1,000, and you cannot provide identification that you picked from them for these transactions, that may become an issue. So just to let you know, and I'll also have put it as a point for compliance to clarify on when they come on board the training. They'll be joining us there shortly. So ID for each transaction, it's also something we'll put to them, and then they clarify that for you. But it's important that you start picking. Do not say that other people are not doing it, so I shouldn't do it. The thing is, when a fine comes, you're not going to say, why didn't you find the other one and you're fining me? It will have got you at that time, and you won't face it with others, you'll face it alone. So it's important that you start these, like the first presentation we had on compliance, AML CFT compliance, that you start having these things done in-house. Okay. So since we have the ID detail, I think we can say we have this person's address. So is this popular place? Use that one. Okay, so we have their address details and maybe the phone details also. Okay, so these are the details of the person picking the money. This was the person who sent. This is the John Doe who's picking the money. So we have the address details and the phone details. So once you're done and everything is green, you then click submit. Okay. Now, if it's a Forex transaction, you don't need to capture these details again because it's the same person. You simply click on this to pick that person again. I'll repeat that. If it's a Forex transaction, since it's the same person who walked in with UGX, walking out with dollars, you just pick this and choose that person. You don't need to type the same details again, like we did last time. We just picked the same person. All right. Any questions before we submit and go to?
Yeah, so does it automatically save?
You have to save. Once you're working on the report, there's this button here, like a floppy disk, to allow you to save. Once you're working on the report, this one here, like a floppy disk.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All
But
right.
you can also, after you've saved, you find it under your drafted reports.
Mm.
Yes, and you can continue.
So when I just
for
type in
example, if I
the
save
first
this,
name, it will come automatically.
if you do what?
If I type in the first name, it will automatically generate everything.
What do you mean if you type in the first name?
Like if I start inputting, it's already there in the system. So
No, it's not.
Mm.
Each transaction is treated differently. Like I said, if it's a money remittance, the sender and recipient are different. If it's a Forex, they are the same. That's why I said you click on this to pick that person.
Okay.
Click on this to pick that person so that his details are populated again, instead of typing out that same person again, because it's a Forex transaction. I don't know there's a Forex transaction where I can look into your Forex bureau, exchange money, and give it to someone. And then I say, I came with the dollars, but I've given the UGX to my sister. She's here. I think you rely on the primary person. So that's why you reuse that exact person. Yes, there's another hand up.
I'm asking when I'm supposed to edit the information I've bought, where should I edit from?
What do you mean by editing? Because if
Okay,
you
for example, there is a time I was doing practice and all the bars showed green, meaning that I can submit. But when I tried to submit, they were telling me to edit some information. So I didn't know where to edit from.
okay, all the information sits if I hope I've got you right, all the information sits on these tabs that you're seeing here, what I'm clicking on. So if there's an error somewhere, you have to click on these tabs and go. The way we have been following them, that's where the information sits. And that's where you have to go to adjust if there's anything that you need to adjust, or alternatively, just scroll through. But that's where you have to go to adjust. Okay. So once you save a report,
Thank you.
You can still find it under your drafted reports. You'll find this is the one I've just been working on. And when I click edit, I find it. Okay. Once you save a report, you come to your drafted reports. You find the report there. Click on the pencil to edit. That's if you didn't finish working on it and you saved it, you can still find it the following day, work on it and submit. Okay, so any questions on that? We have submitted our second STR. I want us to move to now the suspicious activity. Any questions on STR before we go to suspicious activity?
Good morning,
Okay.
Ivan.
Yes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, please.
Hyperflex Bureau. I've just joined in. My internet is really so bad.
Okay.
I've just joined in right now.
All right. So you
But I remember submitting this report.
It's okay. Just follow with us. It's okay. Okay, so let's move to suspicious activity. So same process, new reports, web reports. We are recording this session, so in case you miss something, you'll still get it during the recording when you're watching the recording. So don't worry that what you've missed earlier, you'll never get to see it again. We'll be sharing the recording after the training. Okay, so we have a list of reports, so we're going to pick suspicious activity report. And then you say create report. Then you'll have something like this. Okay. So the structure is the same. The difference here is one of our colleagues asked earlier, there's no transaction that happened. Okay. In this scenario, no transaction did actually happen. Okay. That is the major difference. All right, so I'll capture here. So this is the structure is the same. I'll go a little bit faster for this one. And I think the example we got was a scam where someone was coming to send money, but you identified it as a scam. Okay. Probably they were being fleeced of money or something similar to that, like these Ponzi schemes. So you report it as a suspicious activity. Those who are still having login details to date, we'll have to look at them after the training or during the break. We'll look at them. But after the first 2 days, our expectation is that, or my expectation is that no one should be struggling with logging into the system, at least for the test environment, because we spent a great deal of 2 days sorting out any login issues, making sure people register. So for the 3rd day, we shouldn't be dragged back to login. But I'll spare time during the break if you have a failing to log in, because I know you have to log in to practice, so that we can assist you with that. Okay. All right, so another bit of a suspicious activity, if someone comes in and, oh, their notes are fake, you know. So the transaction is, a transaction doesn't happen because the notes are fake. You can still report that as suspicious activity because you are at the verge of completing a transaction, but then the notes are fake. So you, like you said last time, you retain the notes and I think hand them to BOU, something like that, or photocopy, but then you can still file to FIA that such and such an individual had this number of fake notes in dollars or euros or pounds. So the key thing is suspicious activity, no transaction actually takes place. But we capture the activity, like I've explained it here. Maybe someone came with fake money. Maybe someone was sending money to a company, you know, that is fleecing customers. So that is the suspicious activity. No transaction is affected, but the activity surrounding it all is suspicious. Okay. So here, like I said, attachments are put in here. Indicators, like I said, fraud for this case. And probably adverse reports on local press, because that's how we got to know about this company, just fleecing people and also fraud. So indicators are what tipped you off. And the activity, we're going to capture, can capture the entity, which is the one that is fleecing people. You can capture the person. And in this case, the person who was involved, that's his name. And the significance is on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you rate, how red hot is this? How do you rate it in terms of suspicion? So I'll give it an 8 because we know the company is fleecing people. Yeah, so that is the individual. If you're able to get up to the date of birth details, you can input them. If you are able to capture the NIN, since he was going to send money. Have that in. Nationality, residence, basically that is it. I probably didn't get their phone number or address. I just captured their past time detail here. Okay. And if you have these other details, you can capture them, but most times it's just the individual information. So once everything is green, you submit. So any questions there? So like I said, suspicious activity, no transaction happened, but there's activity that was suspicious. The transaction was put off, and you report that to FIA. Okay, once it's successful, then you submit. All right, so if I look at the program, we are done with suspicious activity. I'll just speak about AIF and message board before we start the large cache. So AIF, I can go back to the system. AIF are what you call additional information files. This is when FIA writes to you requesting for information on a particular individual or a particular transaction that happened, or if you send to us an STR or an SAR and we need more information about it, what we ask for is additional information. So once FIA asks for additional information, you send it to us. Same format, you go to new reports, web reports, and this time you choose additional information. So most times there are attachments that we need, and attachments, ID information, statements if available, transaction information. So all those you send them to us through this additional information file. And all we'll need are basically the attachments. The structuring of the transactions is the same, of the report is the same, but the biggest thing we're interested in additional information file are the attachments. Okay, attachments, attachments, attachments. So any questions there on that one? And what additional information files are and why they, in what scenario we'll be sending them to us? They are not so often, but at times they come up. So it's just good that you know that it's possible for you to file them, and they're basically additional information attachments. And in the letter correspondence that we send to you will indicate what we need, and you attach it in the response, additional information file response. Yes, any questions? Okay, seem to be no questions, so I'll now move to the message board. Okay, someone is asking, how old should a suspicious transaction be still valid for reporting? Say client transacted in 2021, now it's 2022. The law is clear, 48 hours after forming suspicion. So you may form suspicion after watching the news and seeing that customer, or form suspicion after a sister Forex bureau, or I know you share information amongst yourselves, and there are these, how do you call them? They are not thieves. Okay, they are thieves, but they are these guys, con men who come around with fake currencies, or yes, that is what I'm answering. So anything past 48 hours, it is still valid for report. That's why the law is clear, saying 48 hours after forming suspicion. But don't use that to say that I formed suspicion 1 year later. That could also cause you issues. That's why I'm saying there has to be a valid reason. If a transaction happened last year, why are you forming suspicion now? Like I said, you have forums where you publish this con men, or something comes up in the news, or etc. So based on that, you can say, oh wait, I actually transacted with that person last time, probably 3 months back, etc. So that would then cause you to file a suspicious transaction or suspicious activity report. So the keyword is after forming suspicion. But don't form suspicion 1 year later. It has to be explained. Can I say? Otherwise, it will be deemed as negligence on your side. Someone has just joined, like clarification about indicators. Indicators are what tipped you off to file a suspicious transaction report. What tipped you off? So for additional information files, of course, you won't need indicators. Basically, indicators are for suspicious transaction reports, suspicious activity or suspicious transaction reports. Okay. Like to move to the next part, which is the message board. And we can close our day 2 session and start on day 3. Leno has a hand up. I don't know. Okay, no.
Yes,
Right.
I have an inquiry, Mr. Ivan.
Yes, please.
My inquiry is about AIF.
Okay.
Apart from like documents, apart from identification of customers, which other documents are likely to be required for?
Statements, transaction information. Yeah, basically that, and ID information. And anything else that FIF deems fit to ask you about the customer. That's why I'm saying it's important that you identify your customers, because if they want to see a transaction history, you should be able to provide it. You can't say this is the first time the person walked in, yet in your STR you're saying the person has been coming for over a year. So you just have to have transaction history is something you need to capture very well in your systems. And I believe majority of you do have systems that can do that. Okay, so we move to the next bit, which is the message board. I'd like to thank all who have been following and have been submitting reports. I think you're getting notifications that your reports are received, and some have been successful, some unfortunately haven't, and they have been rejected. And there are reasons as to why. How do I detect a suspicious transaction? We had this session on the first day, and I think we'll share that presentation, both the recording and the presentation by my colleague, and it will guide you further on how to detect a suspicious transaction. It's quite a discussion, but we had that on the first day. But let me just skip that question. When compliance joins, yes, does it mean AIF should be avoided until FIA? Yes, AIFs are basically responses to FIA requests. Okay. So let's move to, yes, I wanted to show you this. So once if you go to submitted reports, web reports, submitted reports, web reports, you'll see the reports that you've submitted to FIA. Processed means they were successful, rejected means they did not pass, they missed something. And if you click rejected, you'll see the reason as to why the transaction was rejected, and you revert it back to your drafts to make adjustments. So come to submitted reports, web reports, you find a list of your reports and whether they were processed or rejected. If they are rejected, you click on rejected and revert it, and it will come back to your draft reports. Take note of the error as to why it was rejected so that you can make that correction. Okay, so now if you go to message board, this is where you receive communications with FIA and also send us communications. So it's where we do exchange of information. And whenever something comes to your message board, you're notified that there is a message for you, and you log in and you come to the message board. So majority of these are whenever you submit a report, you'll find the message here, which you can click. And at the bottom, you find a PDF. Attachments will always be at the bottom. Okay. So this one is telling me why the transaction was not successful. Okay. And this one was a successful transaction. And it is showing here that this was accepted. So for every every report you send to us, it's either accepted or rejected, and you get a notification. If it's accepted, if it is rejected, you get a notification as to why it was rejected. Okay, like this one. The reason for rejection is shown there. All right. So that is the message board. So it operates like an email platform. You can send new to type a message to us and even include attachments. Then this is for you to see the messages. You can even reply to the messages. Reply to the messages sent to you. You can search for the messages. You can archive messages by simply moving them to clicking on them, moving them to the archive folder, and so forth. So message board is just like an email platform, but within the goAML system that allows us to communicate with you and with you to communicate with us, but not for you to communicate amongst yourselves. So it's one-to-many, us to you and you to us, basically that. So we are done with what we were left to do on our second day session. We are now going to start our third day session. Are there any questions on the message board? Am I moving too fast? Have I left anyone behind? Okay, so silence means we are all fine. Can I just get a few people to say we are okay so that we move on to what we are supposed
We
to
are
handle
okay.
today? All right.
We are
Perfect.
okay, Brian.
Good for now.
Okay. All right. So let's move to the large cache. Now, before we start the large cache talk, okay, there's something in the chat. Audio is very low. Oh, maybe you'll have to increase your end. Let me check here. No, here it seems fine for me. So I'll probably have to increase on your end. Okay. So let's move to. Okay, someone is saying the speed is fast. All right, then we'll try to slow it down. So we're going to go to large cache reporting. Large cache reporting, we have aggregated large cache reporting. Let me just share that on the screen. So these are the key reports that we expect you to send to the FIA. So we are going to look at basically look at two of them. We have the large cache reporting, which applies to Forex and money transfer, anything above 20 million. Aggregated large cache won't touch a lot on this, but we are basically saying if someone breaks down his transactions, but at the end of the day, remember this is per day, not per week, not per 24 hours within a day. So it's within Monday. If you've transacted anything that is 20 million and above, it is what you then send into, that is what you send into the submissions. So international wire transfers, these are cross-border transactions. Anything that is entering or leaving the country is what you submit in the international wire transfer. So this is basically for money remittance. So if you're only offering a Forex service, it's basically large cache and aggregated large cache. If it's offering Forex and money remittance, you'll then be expected to submit all these. And we expect this on a weekly basis. Majority of you are already submitting these in Excel on email. But like I said, effective beginning of next year, we'll be sending a directive, a deadline, and all this has to be submitted through the system. Now, the beauty is we are working with your providers, system providers. I think there's the Forex print and there is Blueprint. So your providers are already aware of this and they have done integrations with our system, the goAML system. So we are going to go through how the transactions are captured, but majority of you, your providers should be able to upgrade your systems so that you're able to upload these transactions automatically, just that you do for BOU, so that you don't spend time capturing them manually. Some of you on this call are already doing this, which is good. And those others who are not aware, please engage. I'll repeat that again, engage your system providers and ensure that they do this integration for you. But for purposes of understanding what's happening, we are going to go through how to file these reports manually. Once your providers get in touch with you, once you get in touch with them and they deploy the automatic way of filing it, then you'll be able to also handle that, because you cannot keep capturing one by one transaction like you saw. It will be tedious and time consuming. So your providers will have to assist you, or providers will have to assist you with this with this automated filing. Okay. The one mainly for remittance, someone is asking, is the IWTR, International Wire Transfer, because that one is for transactions entering the country or leaving the country. So for Forex, you stop on large cache or aggregated large cache. International wire transfer is for the money remittance. I hope that answers your question. All right, so let's see how to file a large cache. We're going to do large cache and IWTR. All are similar in their structure, but they're just slight differences. So we'll do those two. If I leave you behind, please raise your hand or send a comment. or you can unmute and then mention so that we don't leave you behind, because this is the last major practical session that we are going to have before we wrap up our day. Okay. So if you come to, yeah. So if you come to new reports, web reports, new reports, web reports, you then come here and then pick, we're going to start with large cache. So new reports, web reports, large cache. Now, if I can just take you back, you don't need to go here. Anyway, this will be handled by your providers, but this bit you see XML is the one where you'll be handling the files that are downloaded from your respective systems, designed by your system providers, and then uploading onto the goAML system. But for practice purposes, we are going to do new reports, web reports. You pick large cache, and then you say create report. So you'll notice the interface is the same, but I'll go slow so that we understand the major difference as to what will be captured in large cache, what is the difference between the large cache and the suspicious transaction. What will
Evan,
be
you're
the
sharing something else, Marcus.
Evan, you're sharing the day's timetable.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Hmm.
Yes, that means people are alert. Very good. All right, so let me go back here again. So yes, so I was saying under new reports, XML upload, this is where you'll find where you upload the files downloaded from your system, as will be provided by your system providers. Okay, that's Blueprint, ForexPrint, and others with your respective system. I think your provider, if your provider is not yet aware of this, the goAML system and uploading files on it, that's the large cache and the international wire transfer, please inform them to get in touch with us before the deadline is issued. So the onus is on you to ensure that your provider gives you this solution before the deadline. Otherwise, you will be stuck capturing this data manually. And like I've said, you have already engaged with a couple, ForexPrint, Blueprint, and they are able to do this. So please reach out to them and ensure that they take you through the download from their system and the upload onto the goAML system. So for practice purposes, we'll be doing just new reports, web reports, and then you pick the large cache transaction report. So this is just to take you through what really happens as you, but automation will be done.
Ivan,
Yes, please.
about the providers, I'm only here. You're only referring to the providers for Forex. How about the ones of remittance? How
Like
can
I
they
said,
get in touch with?
like I said, if your provider, if the ones have for remittance, some have contacted us. Now, if you have your particular one, we'll be sharing our details at the end of the session. We did that on purpose. So all our details, that's compliance, the people who do the analysis of the reports, ICT, will be sharing our contacts at the end of the presentation, at the end of today's session, which is our final session. And you can have your providers get in touch with us so that they can make this integration happen.
And now for remittance, there are no specific system that generates these large cache reports.
Okay. Now let me just respond to that. It's the requirement is there by law for you to submit these reports. And we are saying it is tedious to enter them one by one. So it's important that your provider is able to design this file that we require for you to upload this automatically. Otherwise, you'll be stuck entering this manually. So yes, there's no specific system that stores this, but your provider has to customize that for you because it's a requirement.
Yes, a service provider to build for us this software.
Exactly. Your service provider has to know what is the requirement. The requirement is that any transaction entering or leaving the country, or any transaction that is 20 million and above, has to be reported. And you cannot capture these transactions because they are numerous in a manual way. So they have to build this XML file for you that you download and upload onto the system. But for now, we are going to go through how to capture it manually, just in case you fail to have that automated solution. Okay. So once you get large cache, just click create. We should all be having this screen.
Mr. Ivan, you're off screen.
Okay, so I'll just indicate. So since this is not a suspicious report, we're not going to put a reason or action. So for large cache, we do not need a reason or action. You just capture the reporting entity branch and the reference. Okay. No need for reason, no need for action. No need for attachments also, and no need for indicators, because we are filing a mandatory report, a weekly report. So for large cache, we are just capturing the reporting entity branch, the reference date. Maybe what I can just add again for additional information files, since the FIU will have written to you, I forgot this, let me just mention, then you utilize this FIU reference. So the letter we write to you for additional information files will have a reference number, and we request that you quote it in your response for additional information file. So for additional information files, once we request for them, there will be a reference number quoted in our letter, and request that you capture it in your response. But for large cache, we do not need, we just need the reporting entity branch reference. The date is automatically provided. The rest of the fields are not required. FIU reference is for additional information file. Reason and action are for suspicious transactions. No attachments are required. No indicators are required. Yes, please.
You said the large cash transaction will be reported weekly or on daily basis?
Weekly. So weekly, yeah. So for this week, by Tuesday of this week, we expect you to report what happened last week between Monday and Sunday of last week. Now, what happens between Monday and Sunday of this week, we expect it to be reported by Tuesday next week. So this week, we're expecting what happened between Monday and Sunday of last week. That makes sense? So for large cache, 20 million and above. Okay. So no attachments, no indicators, straight to the transaction. Okay. Someone is requesting for a recap. For large cache, only capture the reporting entity branch, reporting entity reference. No reason, no action. These are for suspicious transaction reports, or suspicious activity reports. FIU reference is for additional information file. No need for attachments, no need for indicators, straight to the transaction. Yes, Changani. Changani? Okay, probably the hand was raised in error.
Hello?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah. How do we put the internal reference number? Because this is already attached from the system.
What do you mean?
That reference number, you put internal reference number.
Internal reference number?
Generate that? Yeah.
Reporting entity reference or the internal reference number on transactions?
On transactions.
We haven't got there, so we'll get there. We are going to capture one transaction. You'll see, we'll get there. Someone is saying the words on the screen are very small. You have to maximize. If you're on a phone, of course, they'll be very small. If you're on a laptop or computer, just maximize. Matthew, I don't understand your question. How? What? I don't understand that question. It's just how. Maybe expand. Okay, so let's proceed to transactions. So you click on this screen, add by party or this. So it brings this screen. So what we are going to do with large cache, we are going to see how to add more than one transaction. So we are going to capture transaction 1 in a Forex scenario. Transaction 2 will be in a money remittance kind of scenario. Okay. And just a reminder, we said that if you offer both services, you're licensed separately for both services. So you have to register twice on the system. I will indicate that in our communication to you. So you register as a money and currency changer and a money and value transfer service provider. Okay. So those who have both services will be having 2 companies or 2 registrations on the system. And at the same time, we'll also expect 2 different sets of reports. One you'll be reporting Forex, and in the other one you report money remittance. Hope that makes sense. Add the network problem and miss the report date. Okay, I hope by report date you mean when do you report? We said you report transactions on a weekly basis. That's large cash, aggregated large cash, and international wire transfers. And these are reported on a weekly basis. So what happens between Monday and Sunday of last week, we expect it reported by Tuesday of this week. What happens between Monday and Sunday of this week, we expect it to be reported by Tuesday of next week. Are we supposed to attach and give details of whole week's large cash transactions manually? Like I said, no attachments are required for this, no indicators are required, no reason or action. So just follow what we are going through. And to automate, like I mentioned, your providers will assist you with that. So get in touch with them. If they haven't yet got in touch with FIA, inform them to do so. But majority have, and they'll automate. What we are going through is for you to just understand how this is captured in the system. Okay, any other question before we move? Okay, so let's move. So this number is automatically generated. You just click on it and generate. The internal reference number, like I said, is the receipt number of that transaction. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The receipt number of that transaction or the transaction number. So every transaction, you print out a receipt, has a unique number that identifies it in the system. So that is the internal reference number. So since we are starting with Forex, we'll say currency exchange. And we'll probably put it at 30 million. Remember, it's a large cash, so it has to be 20 million and above. Since we are reporting transactions of last week, I'll say it happened on that date. And the purpose of this transaction was school fees. Are we together to that point? Okay, are we supposed to attach blueprint as automated dash? Shall we have a training to see how we shall and handle when the system is under automation? Blueprint should assist you with that. Like I just highlighted, you go to new reports, XML upload, but you can contact Patrick if that's blueprint. It's a simple process. He can guide you even on phone or if you need to come physically. But yes, if you're with blueprint, I'm aware they have automated that. So the option should be available. So you just download the file and upload it on the system. So you can just contact Patrick to assist you with that. Okay, are we together to this point? I want to move on to the transaction details. Yes, please.
You have left out the seller, authorized,
Sorry, there was a lot of background noise.
You want me to say that again?
No, you said Taylor authorized location. If you have these details,
Yeah,
please
let's keep
provide
that.
them. If you do have them, provide them.
But
No
if
harm.
they're left, yeah. No, okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you have them, provide them. If you don't, they are not required, not really mandatory. I'm really going through what is required and what's mandatory. How do we upload the automated report of blueprint to goAML? Like I said, you can contact Patrick for that, and they will assist you. But first of all, we'll have to register on the system, because I know one of the issues Patrick had with a number of you is that you are not registered yet on goAML. So you have to register at the end of this training. We'll still share communication, but I shared those on day 1 and day 2, the requirements to register. You just go to our website and pick the goAML tab and choose reporting environment, goAML reporting environment, and then you register. But make sure you attach Form 1 and 3. You have to attach a letter from the executive nominating you. You have to attach a national ID. You have to attach the license from BOU. I think, yeah. Yeah, those were the major areas. So once you attach those in your registration, then we approve, and then you can start uploading these reports. Was there a question? Was someone asking a question? Okay.
Ivan,
Yes, please.
if like we talk about registration, is it again on environment test environment, or you register from now reporting?
Reporting environment now. The test environment, we are doing it for practice.
Reporting environment.
And it will stay out there for you to test and practice. Even
So
when
after this, we should do
register on production with those requirements. If you don't submit with those requirements, it will be rejected. So you have to register those requirements. We'll send a communication through the association listing down those requirements. And registration is online. You don't need to bring any documents physically unless required.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone is saying I'm muted. I don't know. Hello? I've been speaking. Yes, please. Hello? There's someone speaking? Hello? If you're having challenges, just send something in the chat. I'll be able to read it. All right, so let's move. This is a Forex example. So it will be passed on my client. So the person came with dollars. So for 30 million, hello, what is the ongoing exchange rate? Yes, I think we're having challenges. We can hear you, but you don't seem to hear us. So just please send something in the chat. So what's the
million should be 30 million should be about $6,700, I believe.
Okay, at what rate?
376. Okay, that is as far as India is concerned. I don't know how Kampala is doing.
Oh, 376. Okay, okay. Thank you for that. All right, so that's the exchange rate. Just capture the details of the person. So basically, this is a key detail, the funds code, it's a cash transaction because the person is exchanging money. I've opened up foreign currency because there's a dollar element involved, and we have got the USD amount and the exchange rate details. The gender is captured here, and then we have the date of birth. We have the NIN that is indicated here, and then we have the nationality that is captured, the residence, and yeah, that's the primary detail. If it's a non-national, we would have indicated passport details, but for now we have indicated the NIN. So after that, you can capture additional information. If you have my NIN, of course, then you'll have my address, which you can capture here. You can go ahead to capture identification details of the national identity card. I think I've put the ID here, just copy it. Okay, so that is it there. Then you can capture the phone details. That is it. So just to recap, we have the transaction data here. Then we have the person who came in with the dollars to exchange. We have their detail there. Key detail, like someone asked about nationality, we are only interested in one, unless you know this person has dual nationality. Passport information is captured there. We have the address details. That are captured there. Identification, if you have national ID details, you can also include them there, or if it is a driving permit or passport details. This is just to know the issue date, expiry date, issue country, etc. And the phone details. Any questions there? Someone is saying we are unable to hear. I think that's a challenge on your end. Is anyone else struggling with hearing?
You are loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. So that is the bit. No, someone is asking, do we also need to fill in all this information even after generating the report from our system? No, it will be automatic. This information will be automatically uploaded and submitted. You won't need to do it manually. I'm going through it manually so that you have an idea of how to submit this report in the event that you have challenges with your provider and a deadline has been passed. So for those who providers are already integrating, please put them under pressure to assist you, ensure that it is working fine. For those who have not yet integrated, put them under pressure to contact us to make sure that they can integrate with us. Because we have just under 2 months to ensure that you are able to submit everything through the system. And we want to make the process as easy and for you to comply as possible, so that no one is penalized for the simple things that you are able to do. Internal reference number is generated from within. That's the receipt number. Receipt number is a receipt number that should be on your transaction. So every transaction that your system generates should have a receipt number or a unique number. So that is what we call the internal reference number. It's a transaction number on your receipts, on your systems. It's generated for each transaction. Okay, hope that answers your question. All right, so after I've captured these details, since it's a Forex transaction, the same person who came with dollars, the same one walking out with UGX. So when I come to here to person my client, I click this blue here, and then I'll pick the same individual, and the details will be automatically populated. Let me just repeat that. So after capturing these primary details here, I come to person my client, because it's my customer. He has walked in to exchange money. I have his KYC information. So I click person my client, click this blue here, use an existing person, and select. All the details will come. I just need to capture here, and everything will be green. Any questions? Are we together to that point? Because that's a Forex example. I want us now to move to an example for money remittance. So silence means we are okay. So I'll now move to an example for man. Okay, there seems to be a question. Okay, thanks. Service provider send the test reports. Okay, it's someone giving an update. That's good. Yeah, I'm glad majority of you, not majority, but some of you have already engaged with your providers and are having these customizations done. So that's encouraging, which means there will be very few fines when the deadline is issued, or none at all, hopefully. Okay, so how do we add a second transaction? We just click here on add by party. Okay, just come back to transaction here and click on transaction. The first transaction is done. I'm now doing a second one. Okay, and the process is the same, but this time I'm going to use an example of money remittance. Okay. I know some of you have companies as your customers. So I'll also look at an example where a company is involved. Okay. So I'm going to do a remittance example, but I'm going to do it in form of a company sending money or something like that, because I know some of you do that for some companies where they are either trading or purchasing goods, and you handle that on their behalf. So there's you utilize your systems to credit another entity or an individual, and then they're able to supply the goods. So I'm going to use an example of an entity. Accounts are for banks, so this does not apply to you. So what majorly applies to you are persons, individuals, who are your biggest customers, and some of you have companies that you do business for. So I'm just going to use an example of a company sending money to an individual out there, a remittance example. Okay. Okay, Victoria. Yes, please. Okay, an update on Blueprint. Okay, that's good.
Due to network issue.
Yes, please.
Due to network, I did not see how you created this new transaction.
Oh, okay. Let me take you back there. No problem. Okay, so let me just delete this. So adding a new transaction, you just I was probably around here. So just click on transactions, just click transactions, and then you come here. Add by party or here, whichever of these two will still get you to this level. Okay, so let's move. So we have the number, we generate it there. We have spoken a lot about internal reference number. I'll just use a different one this time. And since it's going to be a money remittance example, I'll say online transaction. Sending 40 million. I say purchase of building materials. So my company is buying building materials and we are transferring money to another individual. Okay. So Lasedri is asking if it's for IWTR, it's possible. But this, like I said, you have to inform your service provider to work with us or to get in touch with us and make this possible for you. Just like they did for Forex systems, they should also, your providers for wire transfer solutions should also be able to do this for you. Although I'm aware some Forex systems allow for capturing of wire transfer transactions, but I don't know how they can move that data from your wire transfer systems to the Forex system so that it's captured and also you take advantage of the integration that's already done. But the baseline is still that you have your providers for the international wire transfer services have to integrate with goAML. So they have to get in touch with us and we collaborate on that. Okay, hope that answers you, Lasedri. Any other question? There's someone who has unmuted.
Hello, Ivan.
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm from Brihin Forex Bureau, so I came a little bit late. Sorry.
It's okay.
Would you please elaborate to me what this system is about, just for a few seconds?
Which system?
This system that you're talking about.
Oh, it's for submitting reports. It's for submitting reports. But if it's your first day with us, we are really, really far ahead. So, but we'll be sharing the recordings and I'll just encourage you after the session, just go through them for guidance. Yeah. Because it wouldn't be fair to the others if we went really, really back.
Yeah, it won't be. I thought you have just started today.
No, started at 9.
Okay. At 9. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, so let's proceed. We said we'll start with the company that is sending out money. So I'll choose the company as my client that is sending money for purchasing of building materials. We'll have to add an option here for online transactions. XYZ. Yes, please. So you'll notice the format is similar to when you are doing the registration. The format of this information. Like I mentioned, this scenario, I'm saying a company is transferring money because at times some of you have companies as your clients. So I'm just giving that example. This is not applicable, not applicable. Okay, let's say you have the team. Okay, any questions there on the primary details of the company? They are just similar to what you covered when you're registering, sort of the same template. But those are the details on the company. Okay, so we move the address details of the company. So you'll notice the structure of this information is quite similar. The address information and the phone information. Okay, so that is it on the company. Now you'll notice we need a bit more detail if this company is trading with you, up to the level of even the director's information. Okay. So apart from capturing the company details, address, and phone information, we at least need you to capture, because we expect you to have detail on this company, to capture at least one of the directors' information. Okay. So this is similar to, I can pick this fellow here, but let me just go through it, because most times it won't be the same individual.
Are we still large cash?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay, so I'm capturing some detail on the director of the company. Maybe I'll just capture the phone number. Okay, so if I just go back up, because we are done with this, I have a transaction that's large cash, and it's a money remittance transaction, and it's a purchase of building materials. And my scenario is that it's a company that has come to me and they're my customer, and they're sending money for purchasing of building materials to an individual in another country. So my company is based in Uganda, and they're going to be sending money, say, to China for these goods. Okay, so you have to capture the company detail here, the name, the commercial name, tax number, if you have it, the incorporation number, we expect you to have it, the business they deal in, the address of that company, the funds. Now, this is the beauty when it's automated in your systems, that all this is done for you and you just upload. But if it is not automated, then you have to capture this manually. Okay. That's why I'm saying you really have to put pressure on your providers to assist you with automation. So you have the director's information here. Since it's your customer, you expect you to have at least one of the director's information of that company. If you want to add another director, you just click plus. But for our scenario, we'll only have one director. And these are just person details like you've been seeing throughout the system, the name, the nationality, the residence, and so forth. And we have his phone details, so that is what we have captured. Now, from is where the money is coming from. For money remittance, that is the sender. And to is where the money is going to, the destination, the recipient. The recipient is going to be a person, not person my client, because this is going to be a person in China receiving the money, so they are not your customer. So we'll just choose person. So any question before I go to person? Because we are now at the tail end of the large cash. Anyone we have left behind? Anyone who feels we are moving too fast?
Ivan, I've lost, I was engaged to something else. From the large cash transaction.
At what stage? Are you at 0 or what stage are you on?
I'm at description, purchase of building materials. That's why I'm.
Okay, then proceed to populate those details. Let me just go through them one more time.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you have to populate them. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let me just go through them one more time. Just a minute. Okay, Ivan, my company have bulk transfers. Do you have to go through this process? It seems to be long process. I think I've explained this before. Your provider, system provider must automate for you. If there are so many transactions, they must automate for you. So get in touch with them. Some have already done so, as some people have attested to that in this training. So get in touch with your provider to assist you.
Yeah, the service providers, Ivan, this is from Asian Overseas again.
Yes,
The
please.
service providers are ready to integrate, but they need API document and some support from.
We'll share our contact information, both email and phone contact, so that they can work on that. There's no problem.
Oh.
Yeah. So those who have done it and are successful, we have worked with them. So there's no.
I also have a
there's no
suggestion,
challenge, yeah.
Ivan. I also have a suggestion. This is like we are trying to upgrade the reporting process or streamline so many things which are not being done by many of the forex bureaus, including us. There should be a notice or campaign or advertisement from FI also to the general public that if you are in this kind of business or doing this kind of transactions, they have to support to the service providers to give this information. Because earlier, let's say 2 years back, you just walk into any forex bureau and do a transaction by providing only an ID or something. Same thing for remittance. But things have changed and we are taking more KYC or more documentation from the customers where they are not upgraded from the BOU point of view or FI point of view. So you should have something which we can keep in our branches. It is an instruction from an FIA or BOU that if you are dealing with this kind of remittances, this volume, you are mandated to provide this kind of information. Sometimes we can't argue or fight with the customers because they are the reason for doing business. Okay. At the same time, compliance is also equally important and things have changed and we are being more upgrading or automated with the systems, right? Some clients even doesn't want to sign a voucher from the forex bureau issued. Okay, we still insist them. But if like we have a notice or some circular coming from FIA with conjunction with BOU or forex bureau association saying that okay, these kind of transactions, these are mandated. That will really help for us to say, listen, this is a regulatory authority's instruction that we need to collect these documents.
Okay.
It will help us to say that if you don't provide, then you don't do it, not in Asian Overseas, not in any forex bureau.
Yeah, it's like a standard everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got that. I've taken note of that comment. I think we have received this feedback before, and I'll just be sharing it again. Because now that we are getting on to digitizing audio report submissions, it will be important.
Because what I've experienced is, I say, if Ivan has come to my office and he says, denied to give the information, he goes to the other forex bureau and somehow the other forex bureau has done it. So he thinks that we are harassing him or we are trying to be more, I'm losing a transaction and a customer. So if all of us are on the same page, then he knows that, okay, if I go to another forex bureau or another place also, it is the same thing. So he has to provide it. That will be.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But also on the other hand, like I mentioned earlier, you shouldn't worry that you are doing the right thing and others are not. Because on a rainy day, you'll be safe, while others won't be safe when the FIA comes knocking. Okay.
Yes.
So don't say so and so is doing it, so let me also backslide or no. If you're doing the right thing on the rainy day, you'll be safe and the other won't. And trust me, the money someone will have made from the not following the requirement all of it be taken up in the fine, but we'll come to them.
Yes.
Yeah, so
But
just
please,
have that at the back of your mind. But yes, I
please
also
work as
understand.
early as possible in issuing this kind of notice which we keep in our office.
Exactly.
These are the
I've
requirements.
taken note of that. I've taken note of that. We
Okay.
have received this request before. I'll send it back to the team in charge.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all right. We'll also be having a feedback form, and I would also request that you just spend a few minutes, you capture that concern there. Okay. All right, so let's move. I think we're doing a recap for one of our colleagues before we conclude. Our break is almost due before we go to the final part of the practical, and then we conclude our day. All right, so she was at the stage of I think, yeah, there's a question. Yes, someone is saying from this training, no more hard copy submission. Yes, that's the target of this training for your entire sector. That effective next year, we would not expect there will be a communication on the cutoff dates early next year, but we shall not expect any more hard copy submissions or email submissions. Everything has to go through the system. Hope that makes it clear. All right. So yes, so for this transaction, like I said, we captured the number, the reference, the mode, the amount involved, the date it happened, and the description. Now for this remittance, we are saying there's a company that is our customer that is purchasing building materials from China. So we are sending money to China basically, and the sender is a company. So basically we captured the company details, the business they are in. The tax number is not required, but if you have it, provide it. But whatever is required is as an asterisk. But provide always as much information as you can. The address detail, the phone detail. Now, since this company is your customer, we expect you to provide details at least of one of the directors, because we have new laws to do with beneficial ownership. So we need to know who's behind the business. And this detail is personal detail that has been captured, from their role to their name, to their NIN, and to their contact details. So provide as much as you can. I do not have the address, email, but I have the phone details and I've provided them. All right, so let's move to 2, who's 2 person. And just use this to add an option for online transaction. So we are sending to an individual in China. So I'll just call, and the country we are sending to. Please don't forget this. Most people always forget this. If it's a money remittance, always indicate the country it's going to. Okay. So from Uganda to China. Okay. So I'll just put my names like that because I don't know. Okay, I know one. I think it's Z. It's Z. I think, yeah. So since this is not your customer, you may not have a lot of detail about them. Probably just have the name and the passport information that's provided to you. And that is it. And we are done. So these are 2 transactions. One is a Forex type kind of transaction where someone was exchanging money that amounted to 30 million. That's a large cash. Another one is a money remittance transaction worth 40 million, where someone was sending money, a company was sending money to an individual for purchase of materials.
Yeah.
Yes, please. So once
I
you're
lost you.
successful, please submit. Yes, please.
I was saying I lost you somehow. My network broke off.
Okay. Please don't worry if you get bit left behind. This is being recorded and we'll share it.
Okay.
Yeah. But at what stage did we leave you far behind, or because I had
In
just
the
done a recap?
beginning.
At what stage?
From the beginning, the large transaction.
Wow, that is very, very far back, unfortunately. So you just have to rely on the recording for that.
Okay, okay.
Because we have captured 2 transactions. Maybe you'll
Oh.
follow when we are doing the international wire transfer, because
Okay.
the way it's done is the same. Just that this one is called
Okay.
large cash and the other is called international wire
Yeah, and
transfer.
the TTs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Okay, fine.
the format, the way it's done is the same. Just the
Okay.
difference, maybe I can just take you back for Forex.
Mm.
It's the same person who walked in with the dollars, same person walking out with UGX. So most times you just click here to pick that person. You don't need to type their details again. So once you've captured them on the from side, when you come to the to side, you don't need to recapture them. You just click on this and select them and their details will come automatically. Yeah. Okay, so whoever is successful, submit. We are going to go into our 15 minutes break before we touch the international wire transfer. So expect us to be back at about 11:31, I think. We'll resume then. I think there was a person who had an issue with logging in. Maybe I can just give you 5 minutes. We sort that out, then we resume at exactly 31 past 11.
Ivan, before you go, kindly clarify for me what you've been just teaching us a minute ago. Can I combine a Forex and a remittance large cash in one cash report?
It's not possible to combine them because, like I explained, if you have a license for Forex and money remittance, you register twice. You register as Forex and register as money remittance. So there'll be two separate accounts. So there's no, you can combine them, meaning you report Forex alone and money remittance alone, large cash. They'll go in different accounts, not the same.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, the recording will be sent to the association and you receive it from them. Although the secretariat of the association, but we are taking attendance, so please edit your name to reflect your Forex Bureau name and not Samsung or iPhone or Techno. Or if you can't, send your Forex Bureau name and your individual name to the chat. Mr. Ivan, the proof of our product supplier for having submitted STR hard copy. It's automated environment. What is the way forward? I don't think your providers have automated STR. They must have just automated only the large cache, the bulk. STR, that one you should be able to capture it in. But we'll work with them also to automate that. But for now, majority have automated large cache and international wire transfer. Okay. All right. Okay, let's have our break. There was someone who had a challenge with logging in. I don't know whether they're still there. Before I break off.
Hello, Ivan.
Yes, please.
How can I have an access to the recordings?
We'll share them through the association.
Okay.
So SpeedX, you have an issue with login, credentials, Sundu's failing. Let me just check. Let me just check a minute, please. Let's see. Okay, those is a login issue. You need to tell me the Forex Bureau name. So I'll be sharing with you the username. If you're not registered, then I'll let you know you're not registered and you have to register. Just a minute. So SpeedDux, please confirm. Don't but just a minute. Yeah. I don't see any SpeedDux Forex Bureau. Please confirm your actual Forex Bureau name. Alinda, please confirm your actual Forex Bureau name. Kuru. Linda, please confirm which Forex Bureau.
Smoker Money Transfer Limited.
Okay, I'll send you the details.
Okay, thank you.
Ate sigenda kukawansi tukimu mukaga mwana mugamba mpa olusanvu nga terukyali
Okay, hello? Hello?
Yes, please. We're here.
Okay, all right. Sorry for the delay. Attending to something, but we can resume. We can resume. So I'll just get back to our program. I think we're left with one practical session, and then we move on to a few discussions. Right. Yes, so we're done with the large cache. Aggregated, we're not going to look at this, similar to large cache, but here we're talking about transactions that are structured. So basically, large cache is 20 million and above. Aggregated is the same individual within a day. Remember, all this is within a day, although you report weekly, but you're looking at a transaction within a day. So aggregated large cache, it's I come in the morning, change 10 million, then in the evening, 15 million. So you're aggregating basically. So you report those two transactions under aggregated. So we're going to touch international wire transfer, which is a bit biased to money remittance only. So we'll just do one scenario, but I'll request those who are not able to do the large cache, you can choose the large cache option, but then follow through with how we are going to handle this for IWTR, because the structure is really, really similar. Then after that, we should be able to wrap up with just these two sessions. Business flow.
Sorry, Ivan, before you continue, just
yes,
a quick question, which many people might have a similar scenario. You were talking of aggregating transactions. Say, for example, if someone is in the trading business, they have some Uganda shillings which they have converted into foreign currency in the morning. Then they trade, they get more Uganda shilling, they convert in the evening and all. Would you call that an aggregated transaction?
Sorry, come again.
I'm saying, for example, if someone is in the trading business, they have been trading, they have some Uganda shillings in the morning. Maybe say about they have about 10 million Uganda shillings, they convert into US dollar. Then the day's transactions through the day, and you know that they're doing this trade, for example, that they're trading in mobile phones, for example. End of the day, they have more turnover and they get more Uganda shillings. By the end of the day, they come and convert the money back to you to US dollar in order to keep it ready to transfer it, or in order to send it later on at an appropriate time to the supplier. Would that be called an aggregated transaction?
How is it captured in your system?
Okay, in my system, it is, for example, it is in the morning, he just come and purchased $10,000.
So that is captured as a transaction.
Yes, they're captured as two separate transactions within the same day.
Exactly. So you aggregate them. If they are 20 million and above, you report.
Okay, all right.
All right, because you go by how you're treating it. If you're treating them as separate transactions, then aggregate at the end of the day, we report them if you need.
What about suspicious? Would this be called a suspicious transaction because he's doing multiple transactions within the same day, and yet we know what he's doing this transaction for?
You see, that's why we need you to have as many compliance trainings as possible. Suspicion is derived by you, and how you generate suspicion is based on how aware you are of AML and CFT regimes. So if this is your customer and you know he trades in mobile phones and he has to change money to send money, or he change money, or he has various reasons and he's your customer and you know him well, then there's no suspicion. But if he's not your customer, you do not know what he's doing, and he's coming every 3 hours to change money, then it becomes suspicious. A suspicious activity or suspicious transaction. So at the end of the day, it goes down to know your customer, and you also have to be aware of your AML, CFT regime, and all that. So all that awareness should be able to make you either form suspicion or clear suspicion that you have. I don't know if that answers the question. I'll have someone from compliance join us briefly, and they can take on some of these questions. But on my perspective, that's what I can say, that you have explained that's your customer and you know them. And if FI was to do an on-site visit, you can explain this situation and why it's not a suspicious transaction. But if yourself, you cannot explain why it's not suspicious, then treat it as suspicious and file it. Okay. So let's go
Fair
to,
enough. Thank you.
yeah. Let's go now to the IWTR. So same process, you're going to come to new reports, web reports, and then here you choose international wire transfer report, and then you create the report. So we should have a screen like this. Like I said, those of Forex, you can follow as a large cash still. But those doing international wire transfer follow like this. Those for money remittance. There was a question on how do you register for cash remittance? Same way you registered for Forex. Difference is the business type. You choose organization type, you choose money and value transfer. The first time when you're registering as a Forex, for the Forex license, you choose money and currency changer. Then this one, you choose money and value transfer. Hope that answers that question. Okay, so I believe we all have a screen similar to this. Right, so reporting entity branch, reference. This is an internally generated reference for reports you're sending to the FIA. There's no reason, there's no action. For IWTR, large cash, and aggregated, there's no reason or action. Reason and action are for suspicious transactions and suspicious activity reports. Okay. FIU reference is not, this is for additional information files, so no need for that. Any questions on this page before we go to the next? Remember, this is our last technical session. Then we move to wrap up for the day within the next hour. All right, so no question. Attachments are not required. These are majorly for additional information files, suspicious transaction reports, suspicious activity reports. They are not required. Indicators are also not required. These are basically for suspicious transaction and suspicious activity reports. So we go straight to transactions and we click on this add by party.
Ivan, could you please repeat that again? You said there are no attachments for which ones and which ones?
Attachments are specifically for additional information files, suspicious transaction reports, and suspicious activity reports. There are no need for attachments for large cash, aggregated large cash, and international wire transfer. Same with indicators, same principle. Just for suspicious activity reports, suspicious transaction reports. No need to put indicators. Indicators are reasons what tipped you off. So what tips you off for an international wire transfer? What tips you off for a large cash, aggregated large cash, additional information? Nothing, because these are reports mandated by the law to be submitted every week, and the threshold, they are threshold reports. Additional information files, you're responding to FIA. So there's nothing tipping you off. Tipping off is to do with suspicious transactions or suspicious activity. Okay, hope that answers you. All right, so we got transactions, and you click on this, add by party, or there. And then we get, so same structure, difference is the type of transaction you're reporting. In this instance, it's a money remittance moving from one country to another. So this number, I generate it. This is the receipt number captured there. And then this is the online transaction for my transmode code. So international transfers are irrespective of amount. There's no threshold. So it could be 1 million, it could be 100 million. So there's no threshold, any amount, as long as it's leaving the country, is reported under international wire transfer. So there's no threshold. So what reason can we put here? The purpose for the transaction. Someone is asking, when do we file the WTR? When or why? When is every Tuesday again, just like the large cash, every Tuesday you submit what happened between Monday and Sunday of the last week. So this Tuesday, we expect everything that happened last week, Monday to Sunday. And we are looking at transactions that are entering or leaving the country, money remittance. So that's the international wire transfer report. Anyone to give us a purpose of the transaction that we can use?
Payment for goods.
Okay, thank you. All right, so from someone is sending money. We have done one where someone is sending. So let's, okay, someone says hospital bills. Okay.
Savings.
Let me say hospital bills. All right, so someone is sending money. So the person who's sending money, sorry, the person receiving money is your customer. So it is from a person to person. Remember, the person who walks into your Forex bureaus or money remittance company is the one who's your customer. So the person who's sending is not your customer. So don't pick my client, choose person. And we'll put an option here for online transaction. So country, let's say it's coming from.
Sorry, Ivan.
Yes,
Let me
please.
ask, when do we file this wire transfer?
Can someone answer that? Because I've repeated it so many times. Can someone answer? When do we file? What are international wire transfers and which category files them?
Remittance.
Okay.
People who engage in money remittance services.
Perfect. So people are listening. Does that answer your question?
No, because money remittance we receive regularly, because we do remittance. Now, like
yes.
we can do like 500 transactions on a day.
Mm.
Are there specific amounts that you're supposed to file, or every transaction?
Every, whether it's $50, $1,000, 100,000, every amount has to be filed.
No, I don't get it.
Ivan.
Ivan, sorry. Customer transactions.
Remittance. What is remittance to you? What do you mean by, what do you understand by remittance?
Remittance is sending money.
Exactly. So as long as it's cross-border, I may send money to Gulu, that's fine. I send money to Mbarara, that's fine, using your services. That is fine. But as long as it's cross-border, I'm sending money to Kenya, Tanzania.
Listen, I'm asking. We have integrated the systems with our correspondence. Which systems we use, which systems are registered, which systems are regulated by Bank of Uganda. Now, like on a daily, we can receive like 500 transactions. You go ahead and send each and every transaction on a daily.
Exactly. That is the requirement. That is the requirement.
Every transaction.
Every transaction, irrespective of the amount.
On a daily. So meaning if
not on a daily. What we are saying is what transpires within a week, submit it
But
by
we do
Tuesday.
it every Tuesday. Yes, every Tuesday we are doing.
Yes.
This is why I'm asking this, Ivan.
Yes.
Every Tuesday, meaning that
Yes.
is the transaction that happened the whole week.
The whole week, Monday to Sunday of last week, we expect them.
Each transaction is done independent, right?
Yes.
Now we have 2,000 transactions.
Yes. I know where you're going, but yes, 3,000 transactions, 4,000, 10,000, report all of them as long as they transpired within that week and it was handled by your Forex for sending or receiving cross-border. Report them. And that's why I'm speaking about automation. I'm showing you what is done manually so that you also understand the need to have this automated by your providers. Unrealistic, but it's a requirement. By the way, it's not a requirement only for Uganda, and so this is an international requirement. And I think you're aware of the gray listing that we are currently on. And these are some of the requirements that are going to get us off. So it seems unrealistic, but it's how the money laundering watchdogs.
Yeah, but for the
perceive.
last 2 years, we've been doing it at least. So I don't see it new.
understand.
It's just,
I understand, but some of your colleagues maybe haven't been doing it or are finding it
Oh.
unrealistic. I'm not saying no one has been doing it, but if you check the chat, there are some comments. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
it may look unrealistic, but you can have like 30 a day. There are people with 100. I've interacted with
Yes,
people with like
because
100. So
yes, like banks and all that.
yeah. But they're all submitting. Banks, I think there's one that
Yes.
is doing close to 10 or 15,000 transactions a week.
Yes,
But they are
yes.
submitting.
Now, basically, what we are doing is we are transferring from the other analog system into this. That is what is basically we are doing. But there's nothing really very different.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what I'm taking you through is how it is captured in the system. But I know where the challenge is coming. People are saying, oh, how am I going to type all this stuff for like 30 or 50 or 100 people? And that's why I'm saying I'm going through this so that you understand how it is captured in the system and the need for automation. Otherwise, it's not possible for you have to hire almost 3 or 4 people to be capturing this information every day, which is not feasible. So that's where automation comes in. Okay, I hope we're on the same page so far, so we can continue. So we are saying the person sending, the person who walked in is a recipient, so we are capturing details of the person who sent. And we usually have very minimal details. I probably just have the name and the nationality, that they are from Kenya. And probably residence, Kenya. And maybe the passport information. Basically, that's it. That's all I have. Because the sender is from Kenya, so I just have very limited information. Okay. And that's it. But the person picking the money, I'm going to call them person my client because I have. I'm going to get their ID and ask a few questions so I have more information about this person. Okay. I have the date of birth. I have their NIN. Nationality. Yeah, so this is the person we see. The person who sent, I have minimal detail because the person I'm interacting with is the person who walked in, who's receiving that money. So this one, I just have the name and the residence and the passport. But the person receiving, I even have the date of birth, the nationality, the residence, the NIN, and so forth. I even have the address details of this person. And probably the phone detail. Okay, and that's it for this transaction, money remittance. Okay, so this person is sending money, sorry, receiving money for hospital bills. And then from person, then they have, this person is the one who sent, have these details about them. And then so this is from person because the sender It's not your customer, but the recipient who's picking the money is your customer. And we treat them as to my client. The recipient is to, the sender is from. And we capture these details, the gender, the name, the national ID, the birthday, the nationality. We have his address information, and we have the phone information. So once you're done, then you submit. Indicators are not applicable to this section. Indicators are for suspicious transactions. So those are what tipped you off. They're not applicable for IWTRs or large cache or additional information files or aggregated large cache. All right, so any questions? If you're done, you can submit. So any questions? Because we have come to an end to our technical session.
Practice makes perfect. We will need to practice it several
Yes.
times.
The test environment is available for you to keep practicing. But like I said, the ultimate solution is to have this automated. But well done, those who have been able to automate, I mean to submit during the training. At least we have more than 10 submissions that have been successful. And I'm sure you're getting notifications that your submissions have been successful.
Ivan, I wanted to ask now, we enter on Tuesday, every Tuesday when we are supposed to give that report. We enter everything. Can we be entering like in daily basis?
Yeah, you can enter on a daily basis and save. And then on Tuesday, once they are all there, you submit. The system allows for you to save drafts. I think you saw that. Or maybe I can just share my screen again and you see it. So for every report that you submit, you can come and save a draft here. So once you log out, following day, you can come to your draft reports and continue adding more transactions. So I can add, say these are 2 transactions, and I stop there. And then the following day I come and add more transactions. So there are 2 there. Now I can add the 3rd, 4th, like that. So if you want to go that route, it's also fine. So on Tuesday, when I have all my, say, 7 transactions, then I submit. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other query before we move to the last part of our agenda?
Hello, Mr. Ivan.
Yes, Changan. Yes, please.
Yeah, I just submitted the last week file to goAML. It is showing the following file was successfully submitted to goAML. I received a mail. So I received a mail from that. So now that means we are, it is under process.
Yes, it's under process. I hope you're submitting on the test environment.
No, I submitted the last week's file on the goAML.
Test environment or production environment?
Production environment.
Okay, the ones I'm confident about are on the test environment. There's another team handling the production.
I submitted because even on Saturday I submitted the previous week. So I got the report today. They sent me the report after 1 hour that it was successfully received the report. I think I am going on track. Okay, fine. Thank you.
All right. That's good. That's good to know. Okay, so let's just share. Okay, there's a query here. So I now move. Okay, I'll be sharing the contacts for all the necessary contacts. Someone is asking, how can I practice? You'll have to watch this entire session from the 3 days. I hope you'll get enough guidance through that. Okay, so just want to share the screen and touch base on the last elements for that day. Let me see.
Please share the screen.
So we are done with the large cache. We're just going to do the business rules and also take you through. We have a help desk system, so I'll take you through that, then we close. But I'll also have someone from compliance. There are some queries we want them to respond to, so I'll have them join. I'll also be sharing a link to a feedback survey. We need to see how impactful this training was to you and if there are any challenges or any positives that you've taken. So the survey will guide you through those responses. We appreciate if we can receive so that they help us improve on this package. This package is meant for you. So if we don't improve on it, then it doesn't benefit you. So feedback is really, really necessary.
Okay, Ivan, one last question.
Yes, please.
Are you going to put this on YouTube?
We'll share a link with the association.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll receive it from the association.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, someone from compliance will be joining us shortly, but for now, let me share these last two presentations and okay, so I hope you can see my screen now. Will the test environment remain open? Yes, it will be open for practice. Yes. Can we still use the old system while sending large cache on Tuesdays till further notice? Yes, please send them through email to the designated using that template to ctr@fi.go.ug. But a communication will come in early in the year on the deadline on when you stop using that and strictly use the goAML system. Okay, so the system has what you call business rules, and that's why for some of you have been receiving notifications that your reports have been rejected. So we'll share these business rules with you, but they have to be adhered to so that your report is successfully submitted. Number one, you can't send an STR or a suspicious activity report without indicating the reason for suspicion. So that's very important. If you're sending a suspicious transaction report or suspicious activity report, make sure you capture the reason for suspicion. Action, the action has also to be provided for a suspicious activity report and suspicious transaction report. Action is what did you take? Did you go ahead to find out more about, oh, you're just telling us this person came, transacted many times, and we're reporting him. Did you get their ID information? Did you interact with them to find out why they are structuring their transactions? Like in an early example, someone said it was a phone, someone dealing in phones, and probably they have to pay for parts and all that. So that movement of money is common with them, and it may not be suspicious. Oh, it is suspicious, whichever. But the action, you must take further action after you've declared, deemed the transaction suspicious, and then that has to also be shared. Then reports, you saw me always indicating my client, not my client. You can't have a transaction without indicating who your customer is in that transaction. For Forex, both the sender and recipient are your customer because it's the same person walking in with a local currency to get a foreign currency. Money remittance, only one person is your customer. The person who has walked in to send or the person who has walked in to receive. The other side of the transaction, that is not necessarily your customer. Non-Ugandan citizens are required to provide a valid passport number. Yes. So we verify this and the passport has to be provided when you're capturing details about an individual. That's why you saw for each individual we're trying to fill in either passport or national ID. And then Ugandan citizens, you're required to provide valid Ugandan government issued ID should be provided. So identification is very key for both nationals and non-nationals whom you're transacting with. So you can't say that this person transacted less than the reporting threshold, so you didn't get their ID during the transaction. It's important that for every transaction you capture ID. And I think one of you mentioned the need for FIA to issue a circular for the public to know that for every transaction, ID will be required. So that's the feedback at least I got, but on your end, please start taking these measures. Because at the end of the day, if a transaction went through your institution and it wasn't, and the individual wasn't, detail on the individual wasn't captured, then the fingers will be pointed at you. Okay, so number 9, reports must have a to and from. Yes, we deal with by party, so we must have to where the money is coming from, where it's going, even with Forex. Same person walks in with one currency, walks out with the other currency. So there's a to and from. LCTRs, yes, these are 20 million and above. So don't send anything less than 20 million as a large cash. It has to be 20 million and above. Financial institution must include, this is not applicable to you. This I think is for the banks. Accounts are not applicable to you, only person and entities. Yes, an aggregated large transaction port. Yes, so this one where you're aggregating 5 million in the morning, 10 million in the afternoon, 10 million in the evening. So that is 25. So you're reporting it as an aggregated transaction, but each individual transaction should not be more than 20 million. If it's more than 20 million, then it's a large cash. So everything less than 20, but for one individual in a day, if aggregated is more than 20, that is reported under aggregated large cash. I know Forex, for money remittance, it's easy because you have the detail of the person who comes in and receives or sends and sends. But for Forex, it may not be that easy because majority of you are not doing capturing ID information for each transaction. But please start doing that, because in that way you know someone who's structuring or whom you can report in aggregated. Then for
Ivan,
remittances.
can I disturb you 1 second, Ivan?
Yes, please.
For a money remittance transaction, if sender is and receiver both are same, it's an aggregated transaction. But if sender is same and receivers are different, because
Sorry, come again.
some they send to their sender and receiver is same, then it's an aggregated transaction. If sender is same and receivers are different, because some people send to their mother and wife or sister and wife or something like that, but the aggregated is more than 20 million, still it's an aggregated transaction, or it's just a, because receivers are different here. If sender is same, receiver is same, then it's an aggregated. I clearly know that.
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, if sender is the same,
receivers are different.
The receivers are different. You see, you're just looking at the individual. So if I'm the same person coming in to send multiple times, you're aggregating that. If I'm the same
So
person.
here the customer's intention is not to break the transaction or send multiple. Okay. He has 2 different accounts where he has to remit.
Yes, and you
Then
aggregate
it's
because
not,
you're
the
looking at
nature of the transaction is not breaking the transactions or hiding the transactions, but it is necessary to send in 2 different transactions. Okay. So we should treat it as an aggregated transaction or not?
Okay, let me give a simple scenario. If I walked in, I'm not breaking the money, but I'm sending to 5 different people. Okay.
Okay.
If I'm sending to 5 different people, 10 million each, at the end of the day, I've sent 50 million.
50 million, right.
So that has to be reported as aggregated.
Okay.
So it's not like you're
Irrespective of the
breaking.
receiver.
Yeah. You're not breaking down the transaction. It's just that you're sending to different people. Just like people go to mobile money agents and they send different amounts of money. But if I come and I
Because
send.
this is happening with the company who is sending their staff salaries. Okay.
Exactly.
The total goes more than 20 million, but if you say they might be sending 1.52 million, which is their monthly salary. So it becomes so hectic to fill in all this because one company is just sending their salaries.
Exactly.
But,
That's why we said it is easier once it's automated. It's
but
not
automated,
feasible.
we have to see how good from our side and from your side we are going to get this short time. We are already in November, and by January, if we can automate or not, we shall work on it, and we have to spare time for it for all of us.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, please start on it so that if we have constant engagement, if we have communication from you, the deadline has to be fair enough. Otherwise, if
for
you
any
keep,
reason, if we are not automated,
if you keep
then
quiet,
we have to fill in manually.
If you keep quiet, because there's a challenge. If you keep quiet and if you don't make progress, then the deadline will hit you hard. So what I will require of you, or what I request of you, is start after this session, make sure you're registered on the system and make sure you know what your requirements are and make sure you are in touch with the authority. I'm going to share the contact so that we know if there are challenges, how do we assist you? Is it a matter of time that you need more time to have something effected or things like that? So that constant engagement is required. Otherwise, if from this training, like what has been happening, people go quiet, once the deadline comes, you can't start screaming, it's unfair. So it's better that you start
for any
now.
reason, my last question was, for any reason we couldn't automate, then we have to fill in manually everything.
That would be the default position, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But we just hope you're able to automate within time.
Oh, we will be able to automate, but the APIs, sometimes it will happen just in 2 days, or sometimes it may take 2-3 weeks also, 1 month also. It's not in our hands and technical.
Okay, that is understood. Shangan, you had the question? I saw your hand was up.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. You were speaking about the IDs to collect. For BOU, we had the equivalent to $5,000. But now, what is the limit now? Because some may come to buy $20, $30, or $100. Do we need to collect ID for all these things? There should be a limit.
Okay, my colleague from compliance is on. My colleague from compliance is on. So when
Hello,
that
Mr.
session,
Ivan.
hello, I do hear you.
Yeah. You were telling DOU has a restriction for $5,000.
Yes, I got the question. I got the question. What I know that
now
for each, you must have detail for each transaction you
yeah, what is the limit then?
There's no limit. There's no limit. But my colleague from compliance is on.
Because
Once
this
that
has to
session
go
reaches.
public awareness. It has to
Exactly, and
be
that
in an
was something I took note of.
Okay, fine.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I think one of your colleagues mentioned a circular or something to the public, so that's something I took note. Yeah, but the requirement as per the act is for every transaction, you must know your customer. How do you know your customer? You must have their ID. All right. All right. Okay, so yes, so for money remittances, you must indicate the source country of funds, and you must also indicate the destination country of funds for money remittance. Okay, so any questions on the rules before I invite my colleague from compliance to respond to some of the questions that we had today? Any question? All right, so I don't know if Gladys is online now. Hello? Hello.
Hello, I'm online.
Okay, your volume is a bit low. I don't know whether I'm the only one struggling to hear you. Or is everyone else able to hear her?
No, her volume is so low.
Can you
We
hear
can't
me
hear.
now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay, so we just have a couple of questions. The first one was on inter-bureau transactions, whether these are exempted from being reported. I think we had a response to this, but anyway, you can just answer that again.
Yes, they are exempted. Transactions from between supervised institutions, you don't have to report them.
The voice is very low.
And I'm shouting. Can you hear me now?
We can hear.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, better.
Yeah, those inter-bureau transactions are not supposed to be reported. As long as they are two supervised institutions, transactions between two supervised institutions are not supposed to be reported. Is that okay? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I think we have got that response. Yeah. Then the other was someone asked a broad question, but I think we had a session where it was we were taken through them. They were asking, how do you detect a suspicious transaction?
Okay. Okay. How does one detect a suspicious transaction?
Yeah.
There are very many indicators. I think we also shared them. They're on our website. Are people able to access our website?
Let me just see if I can share my screen and then try and access it so that I think it's this guidelines. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope you've seen that. Please take we'll refer you to a lot of content on our website. So if I'll just go back, if you come to our website, reporting suspicious transaction reports, there's suspicious transactions guidelines on indicators that were issued in 2016, I think. And I think the indicators start from page 6 onwards. So I hope that
Ivan,
answers. Yes, please.
how do you get to that? How do you get to that?
Go to our website.
Guideline?
Go to our website.
The website.
Yeah, reporting, and then suspicious transaction reporting. You'll find the guidelines there.
Reporting. Okay. My network is a bit slow.
Okay. So I think that one is answered. Then the other question is, does each transaction, does the Forex Bureau need to capture customer identification for each and every transaction, irrespective of the amount?
You're supposed to know your customers, and one of the ways is obtaining an ID from them. So yes, that is the simplest form of identifying your customer, getting an acceptable ID from them. Is my volume still low?
No, it's okay. So I think that answers the question. So for each transaction, there has to be, you must acquire ID. Maybe the challenge members said is, can FI then inform the public of the same? Because most people are not aware that you have to present ID for each and every transaction. Maybe it's just something you could take note of.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, Ivan.
Yes, please.
There's some clients that are not comfortable providing their national IDs. How do you handle such transactions?
Okay, I'll request my colleague to respond to that.
Okay, thank you.
So you're saying some of your customers are not comfortable providing copies of their identifications?
Yes.
And what is their reason for refusing to provide a copy of the ID?
I'm not sure, but we insist, and sometimes they give them to us.
Because you're supposed like to create a rapport with your customer, so that you're able to obtain information. Surely, if someone doesn't have anything to hide, then there's no way they will not give you their ID, unless they are doing something that they don't want to like uncover. Because when they go, for example, to the banks, if they want to open up an account, a copy of their ID is a must. So why would someone refuse to give you a copy of their ID yet they want to transact with you?
May I contribute to that question?
Yeah,
yes, please.
That we shall deal with that.
There are some high-profile government officials who don't want exposing their identity all over the place. So if someone says that some people are not comfortable providing their identities, yes, it is true. There are high-profile government officials who are reluctant to do that. I submit.
Yes, Gladys, any response? Or?
It's very funny. So it's the ones that are high profile. For example, who is it? Ministers? Is it MPs? Because these are the people that even pass these are the people that pass these laws.
An example I can give you is maybe, just as you mentioned, the ministers, some big military officers, commanders, and so on. Those are two of the examples, the main examples available.
Actually, there are many.
Yeah, but for the MPs and those are the people that pass these laws, yeah, that require them to provide identification. So why would an MP refuse to give you a copy of their ID if they are the ones who pass the laws?
Well,
So I'm
they
thinking
refuse.
you could just like
Mm.
engage them and tell them the reason why you need a copy of their identification. Like you're not going to utilize it for something else. You're not going like to expose it to others, that it's confidential. It's only for that purpose, for that transaction. And if they are very uncomfortable, they can sign on the ID and indicate the dates, so that you're not able like to use it for anything else if that is what they are fearing.
You see, Gladys, I think this is our biggest problem. Because, for example, if you say, I have a Forex bureau and I'm in Chukovo, the person is going to come with their $100 and you're going to ask them for their ID. The person will be like, hey, why are you asking for my ID? Are you Olimbega? What? You get what I'm trying to say? So that situation always happens. The person always be biased. They'll be like, yeah, but when I go to the Forex bureaus, they don't ask me for the national ID. The same thing with the MPs that you are.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So the problem is that some Forex bureaus are actually not being compliant. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm trying to say is that
you're all supposed to speak like the same language. For example, if a customer went to another Forex bureau there and that Forex bureau should be able to tell them the same thing, that without an ID, I'm not going to serve you. But I'm thinking it's because
I think one of the
other
things,
Forex bureaus are lax. Yes.
one of the things they mentioned, I think they required assistance from us is public notice on the need for identification for each transaction. And that will assist them, because if they have that notice pinned and they say, look, yes, I'm requesting for this, but it's a requirement by a regulator.
Oh, so they want us like to
other than it
come up
looking
with
like
a notice and send to them so that
yes,
they can pin it like in their premises. Is that what
yes,
a
a note you
notice.
can put in newspapers, and then also something that you can put in on our Forex bureau.
Yeah,
Anywhere
but
where people
it's
can
addressed
see,
to the public at the end of the day.
yes, address the public under the various informations of passing information, avenues of passing information.
Okay, I'll inform my director of your request.
Okay. I think we have some questions in the chat. Will serve clients without ID for us or Mr. Okay, PEPs don't want to provide details. Okay. ID is a very big problem. Most people don't want to give this information. Someone will say, I'm only here to change $200. You don't need my details. Should make it a point to ask for identification about an hour, which will also ask. So eventually it will become uniform. Okay. Matthew is asking an important question. I don't think I can answer this. Customer with language problems, should we stop transacting with them?
Hey.
I think this is.
What does it mean by language problem?
I think
like
you should be able
barrier.
to serve. Yeah, I think you should be able to serve everyone.
Barrier. Yes, serve everyone really.
I don't know how to respond to this.
No,
quite difficult. Yeah, but I think you should be able to serve everyone. Okay, so I think my colleague has taken note of, I think, having a public notice that will really help push the point home. Otherwise, right now, some will be compliant, some will not. But at the end of the day, like I said, if you're not compliant, the law does tend to catch up with you eventually. So don't say your neighbor is doing it, why don't I do it? Just do what is required of you, which is to be compliant. Okay.
Yeah, and the administrative sanctions are coming. Yeah? So
almost finishing.
All right.
I'm seeing something that how can I check for a company's certificate of incorporation number?
I think that one you handle it as a Forex bureau. It's on your certificate of incorporation. If you're not certain, you can check with URSB for that. At what point are you asking for IDs? Every transaction. Shumak, yeah, Shumak, we have spoken about that. Okay, the last query for my colleague is if a transaction is suspicious, can they go ahead and go ahead with the transaction, or they stop it if they find a transaction suspicious? I think that was the last question.
If they find a
Transaction suspicious, should they stop it, or they can go ahead with it?
No, that one is also, it's their discretion.
Okay.
Someone's discretion. So somewhere in the law, they say you can continue with that transaction, but it's your discretion, really. If you suspect TF, like terrorism financing, that one, don't even attempt. Don't.
If it
don't
is,
go ahead with it. Yes, if it's terrorism financing.
okay. All right, thank you, Gladys. Is there any other questions before we let her go? Okay, there seem to be no more questions. So thank you, Gladys. I'll now move to the last bit of
Ivan, sorry,
yes.
I want one last question.
Okay.
You know, for BOU, when you do our statutory audits, there are auditors who are recognized by the Bank of Uganda for doing audit. If we want to do a compliance audit, FI also should recognize the auditors and list them so we can approach them. Because if you ask an auditor, he say, okay, I will do it. Maybe he's ignorant of doing it. Still, he says, I'll do it.
Okay.
Is my question clear?
I didn't get you well. I don't know that.
It's talking about audits.
Compliance
Are
audit.
No, see.
Are you talking about an AML CFT specific audit? Or
Yes, we normally do an internal AML audit also, which is not a requirement from either FIA or BOU, or it is an internal what we do just to ensure we are in the doing the correct practice.
Out of
So
your, okay. Let me just answer that. So regulation 43 requires every accountable person to periodically carry out an AML CFT independent audit. But the FIA has been tasking different sectors to carry out those audits. So, for example, we had the phase one where we had banks, credit institutions, and telcos and MDIs. So they were instructed to carry out an AML CFT independent audit. So they gave them a procedure where they were supposed to get the auditors, then submit to the FIA their documentation, their profile. Then depending on that, would either approve or reject the auditor. So the second phase now that is currently on is for the casinos, insurance, and securities sector.
So you have a list of those auditors whom you have approved?
No. We left the sourcing to the different accountable persons. So you get your auditor, then you submit to the FIA. Then we are able to go through their profile and either approve or reject. But that is for the accountable persons that are undergoing the AML CFT audits that we told them to conduct.
But
so for you internally, you can carry out an AML CFT audit. It is fine.
Oh, that's fine. I got your point. But to make it easier or to make it more convenience, can't you, some auditors are approaching you, can't you certify them? Yes, they are having the knowledge and expertise to do an internal audit or an FIA audit. Instead, you finding the auditor and submit.
Why we didn't want to have that list is that we don't want some people to feel left out. Some auditors, because for the first phase, we got the list from BOU, because we engaged the regulators. So we engaged BOU and they gave us a list. So most of these other audit firms complained that they were locked out. So in this second phase, they left it open. You submit, then we just have to look at your profile, review, and then depending, we either reject or approve. Depending
Excuse
on
me, I've been left out. My network was poor about the audit stuff.
Sorry?
I was left out because of network challenges. About the auditor, we've been talking about, I found you talking about the auditor.
The audit. No, I was saying, usually the FIA will write to the accountable persons at different sectors and tell them to carry out the AML CFT independent audit. So there's certain documentation and parameters that they're supposed to follow. So you submit documents from your auditor or consultant, because they opened it up. And then depending on the documentation they provided, we either approve or reject. Because what we need is for them to show proof that they have the AML CFT expertise, and then that there is no conflict of interest between the accountable person and the auditor.
No,
like I
thank
said,
them
you
for
can, like I said, you can carry out your own. You don't have to wait for the FIA to tell you to carry out an independent audit. You can do it just so that you're able to know what your AML CFT compliance is like.
Now we've been having an auditor, an external auditor. Is this still the same thing, or we're talking about a different thing? External auditor from Bank of Uganda. Or this is supposed to be a different another
So for
auditor?
us, our audit,
yeah.
Our audit is AML CFT specific. Like when the auditor comes, they are basically looking at your AML CFT program. They are not going to look at the prudential aspect of it. They'll only look at AML CFT, and they are usually given terms of reference and what they're supposed to look at. And at the end of the day, there's supposed to be a deliverable, which is a report. I don't know if I've answered the question.
How often is this carried out annually?
Hello? Yes?
How often is the audit annually? Sorry, I was left out because of the network.
Okay. Once the FIA writes to the different sectors to carry out the AML CFT audit. So after that, it will be every 3 years. Like, for example, now for the financial institutions, the other one is due in 2024. Because they submitted their reports in 2020, so there's 2021, 2022, 2023, so they will do again in 2024. So currently we have, like I said, the casinos, insurance sector, and the securities sector. So also them, once they are through with this cycle, this independent audit cycle, they'll wait again another 3 years, then they'll carry out an audit. So maybe the next people might be you guys, but we'll write. And then we inform you that now carry out the AML CFT independent audit, and you'll be told to submit a documentation from your proposed auditors. And then we'll review and either approve or reject, depending on the information that you give us. Yes.
I'm just asking. Last time we requested that are there any recommended auditors in this field of AML CFT which we can at least try to use to check ourselves before you register us?
I already explained that. we don't have a list. We left the sourcing of these auditors or consultants. They actually opened it up to auditors and consultants because we have people out there who only deal with AML CFT. They are not actually under the ICPAU, but they are consultants that handle AML CFT. So even it was apart from the auditors, they also opened it up to those ones. As long as they can prove that they can carry out the audits. Have I answered your question?
Yes, you have, but at least you don't have any recommendation like so and such a company.
We left it for you guys. Because people are complaining that they can't afford the big five, the what, so they left it to them.
To assist my colleagues, there's a list that is on the BOU, on their BOU page of their qualified public accountants that they can refer to in case they need an auditor. So they can go and choose from there.
That is for the prudential bit, not AML CFT. Anyway, some do both.
For approaching one of them, just for approaching one of them and ask them whether they're able to do either this or this. So
yes,
they can choose from that. I think that can help our colleagues because I can see there's RSM and the rest and everything.
Okay, it is fine.
Yes, Gladys. My name is Pius from Unimoney.
Yes, Pius.
I just want to know when our sector will come in terms of your requirement from FIA.
For the AML CFT audit?
Yes, and when do we expect to receive the terms and references for the audit?
They'll communicate. We'll communicate.
Okay.
Yes, the communication will
Gladys,
come through, and all that information will be given to you.
Gladys, I think I wanted you to do a clarity here. I had a couple of colleagues, a couple of my colleagues talking about the requirement of the ID. Okay, the ML Act of 2013 and the regulations of 2015 require that we should collect an ID for any individual that is transacting. However, the industry practice, okay?
Yes.
And based on the Bank of Uganda statistics requirement, it's something equal and above $5,000. That is the confusion when it comes to our sector.
Okay. So you're saying BOU tells you to get IDs for 5,000 USD and above.
Yes, as per the regulations, the requirement is 5,000 and above, equal and above, okay? But meanwhile, on the other side, the ML Act stipulates that we should collect for all transactions, irrespective of the amount.
Yes.
That is where the challenge is. Maybe you need to step in a lot as FIA, like you said, a lot of information to come out to the public. I don't know how you're going to really enforce it, because the challenges that the players in this sector will face is that someone will come to, for example, someone will come to Unimoney, to change $100, and they'll ask for the ID. The moment they ask for the ID, they will easily move to the next shop and change easily.
I get what you're saying.
So that is the biggest challenge in this sector when it comes to collection of ID. I really understand that the ML Act is very clear, and the practice across the region and the globe is that irrespective of the amount, an ID is required. Yes. I don't know how you're going to embrace that or implement that.
Okay, for this one, I'm going to talk to my colleagues in BOU. I find out.
Okay.
Yeah, but our act is very clear. You're supposed to identify all your customers.
Yeah, on the personal.
Yes.
On a personal level, we engaged the ED of FIA initially in 2014 when the act was implemented, and we gave him a brief about the industry practice. So I don't know how you're going to reconcile all that. It is something we need to stretch on, so that people don't lose businesses. And however, we should not compromise on compliance, because if you look at these PEPs and the sanctioned individuals, they tend to use against small amounts when it comes to, when it comes to crime, when it comes to criminality. So we need to look at that. Just for you to take note anyway, Gladys.
Yeah, I've noted it. I've noted it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Pius.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gladys, for that. I think there's one more question on the chat about IDs. If after asking it from a client who is not doing a large cash, are you still supposed to attach it to that transaction and file it? I know that this is filing to the FIA, but I think they're supposed to keep it for their records. I don't know. Maybe Gladys were in there.
Yes, Ivan, you're right.
Okay.
Just for your record purposes.
And
Because if the inspection team came on ground and we were looking, and then you're telling us, but I identified the customers, so my next question will be her proof. Where is the proof? So yeah, some have soft copies, others have hard copies.
Okay.
But as long as you have something on
Gladys,
yes,
this is Kumar from Asian Overseas. You should give the recommendations to the regulator that the check limit has to increase. Most of the clients give the reason that we are not having the same bank of your bank. That's why we are withdrawing and bringing cash. When customer pays us from account to account, it is more compliant than he's bringing cash. But because of the situation, the banks doesn't take more than 10 million right now. It used to be at least 20 million. Now it is even worse, 10 million, which is very difficult to have accounts in all banks, and all banks doesn't open for forex bureaus. All major banks, they are denying to open an account. That is not addressed in spite of so many reminders by the association, by BOU, by FIA. Then another regulation comes, we need to accept only a 10 million check. So customer is forced to go withdraw the cash and bring, and doing in cash from FIA point of view or in a longer run as a country, it's not good. So you have to strongly recommend that check limit has to increase from 10 million to at least 20 million again back, or I don't know, because this will reduce the cash transactions in the market. Okay, and my second point is, when you're bringing out a notice to the customers, please mention it should be government photo identified ID. Some people bring IDs like employee ID, that those are not accepted. You have to show a government upload such that we can track the person if there is anything. Thank you.
Okay. That is noted. You're saying that the check limit, BOE should increase the check limit from 10 million to 20 million. And then you're saying when we issue a notice, we should be specific and put their government issued IDs. Okay. I've taken note of that.
Okay.
And I see another.
Yeah, there's something you can read. There's something on the chat.
I see a question on the chat where they are saying, should the IDs be strictly original copies, or we can also expect photocopies for forex bureaus? Please get the original ID, because then after you're able to verify that it's original, then you can make a copy. Because you don't want a fraudster to come and then access your services. Maybe I'll give you an experience, because I worked in a bank before, where people would come with photocopies and access, is it Western Union? Someone would come with a photocopy of an ID or a passport, and then they would come with the correct MTCN. Then they have the photocopy of an ID. But shortly afterwards, like a day later, someone else, there is a complaint that the money was paid out in error. And the problem was surely on the cashier who didn't ask for the original copy of the ID. Because this person just came with a photocopy of a passport. The name is theirs, the photo is theirs, but it was actually a forgery, and they got money, but by impersonating someone. So I encourage you to at least look at the original, verify that it's original, then you can make a copy for your file. Okay, is that okay, Annette? Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much. I think you've ably answered all the queries that we had kept for compliance. We now just have one more brief presentation. I have shared the feedback form on the chat. I encourage everyone to share your feedback. It's very important for us to improve this package, or to get areas of concern or areas that we probably missed out on in this training that you need training on, or the frequency of this training, and anything that we have mentioned or said within here. We need that feedback to help us improve or work with you better, because we are partners in this fight against AML CFT. All right, so allow me to just give you one more brief presentation, and then we call it a day. Just share my screen. Hope you're all able to see my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. So now, a number of you are asking for my number, contact information, which we are going to share, but I would like to encourage you to take note of this presentation, because we have what we call a goAML help desk system. Calling individuals, emailing individuals is fine, but as the numbers grow, it is not sustainable. You call me and I'm in a meeting, I don't get back to you, or you send an email, I read it, and then I forget that, oh, I had to act on it, and so forth. I'm not saying it will be the norm, but I'm saying they can fall through these cracks, as in volume of calls and so forth. You're not able to assist everyone with the quality that's needed. That's why we have a system in place that will enable you submit a ticket, and you know that there's someone going to respond to that ticket, because with the system, as you know, with systems, it will definitely show you a ticket that hasn't been handled. It will show you the number of queries which are similar, so that you can build your training around those queries. And also at the end of the day, ensures that the help desk feature or the help desk or support is up there. It is prioritized, rather than through phone calls where no one is supervising, or emails where no one is checking to see if I responded to all my emails. But here there's someone that oversees, and then someone that makes sure that all tickets or all requests are actioned. So I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to this system. We'll share this in our communication to you, but you send your organization name and email addresses. A number of you are already on this system, although not a number of you are utilizing it. But we encourage you to subscribe to this system and be able, you get an email that allows you to register onto the system. You set it up, and then you have access to sending queries. It's also accessible on our website, the system, once you have subscribed, and then you can be able to send in these queries and we respond. And you can also give feedback after your query has been handled. So I'll just go to a link, the link I think, so that you just see how it looks like. Let me see. So it looks something like this. I hope you're seeing my screen. So once you've subscribed or you've received credentials after sending us your organization name and the users, their emails, because we utilize the email feature, you have access to such a page. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. So within here, you can raise a question, a service request,
Yeah, yes. Sure.
and then send it to us, and then we'll act on it. Okay. So please, we'll send a communication and encourage you. Apart from registering on goAML, you also have to will send us your details that we create for your accounts on the help desk system. Okay. I think that is.
How do you access the goAML Help Desk Center?
Like I mentioned, we shall be communicating to you. You're supposed to send your organization name and email address to a certain email that will send in our communication through the association, and then your accounts will be automatically created for you, and then you subscribe to it.
Thank you.
Okay, I think my colleague has posted something in the chat for information. Is there any question? It is already 1. I want us to wrap up. My colleague Sharifa is in, the goAML system manager. She's, I think she's online. She will be wrapping up the session, but before she comes in, are there any other questions?
Mr. Ivan.
Yes,
Changani,
Changali.
yeah.
Yes.
Before lockdown, we were suggesting GOU for the scanner of ID, whether it is a original or duplicate, from the NIRA. We were asking them. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I hear you. Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, so can you coordinate with this BOU and check how far, and if we have that system, it will be easy for the software people to upload it on the computer directly, so that it will be very easy. We need not make a photocopy for each and every ID. We just scan it, it will be uploaded.
Okay.
How do you see the suggestion? Yeah, the suggestion.
Okay. Please put that in your feedback on the system. Yeah. That's why we have put that form. Please put it as part of the feedback.
Okay, sir. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you too. Any other queries before I call upon the goAML system manager? Okay, there seem to be no queries. So if I welcome you to give us closing remarks and officially close this workshop. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you for that very comprehensive presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us. I can see we still have over almost 80 participants. Thank you for bearing with us for 3 whole days. We appreciate the time that you've taken away from your desks, the time you've taken away from your work to attend this, and we hope that the training has been beneficial to you. We know that this is an addition to the work that you've been doing, but that's why we've introduced this system to simplify the work that you're doing as compliance officers, and so that there's seamless communication between us and your entities. And we are looking forward to you registering formally and to you submitting reports via this system for the good of us. I thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, goAML system manager. And thank you all for being with us throughout the 3 days. We'll be sharing the training material through the association and any further communications. So thank you so much. Please take time. Those who haven't, I'll just give it a minute to act before I close the chat for you to access the feedback form and populate it because we need that feedback. Thank you so much. Have a good week ahead of you, and bye.
Thank you so much, Ivan.